Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's emergency live storm coverage update here. I am Andrew Houston with Myrtle Beach Aware, and we are talking about some severe weather that's going to be working its way across the United States and into our area over the next several days here. So we're out at Sunday here in our area, and currently we're looking at radar loop here for the Texas area and moving into Louisiana and those areas overnight. We do have some severe weather that has now kind of dissipated a little bit here. We did have some severe warnings here in the Texas area as well, just east of Dallas here a little bit ago. We do suspect to see some pretty large hail in this area, and that extends all the way up into this portion of the United States here right now. A little bit of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana are expected to see some of that major hail here this evening and in through the overnight hours. Slightly elevated tornado risk, but not zero. Really not looking at the tornado threat here for the Texas area overnight tonight. But really that hail threat, they could see hail, it's as big as 2 to 3 inches in size and diameter. So definitely something to watch out for there as we move through the overnight hours here. But the big picture here for us is out to Sunday, where we are looking at the 15% probability of severe weather here, as this large system wants to start working its way across the United States and into our neck of the woods here on Sunday. So how is this all going to play out? Well, if we take a look here real quick at the day one, this is that Texas area out through. This extends. You have a marginal risk here for places like Little Rock, Jackson, Mississippi, and all the way out through Dallas. And we are looking at the slight risk of severe weather here for the overnight hours, and that includes areas like Fort Smith, we got Little Rock, Arkansas, we've got Shreveport, Mississippi, we've got Dallas, Texas in there, Tyler, Texas, where you're seeing some pretty heavy rains and storms moving through that area right now, Jacksonville, Texas, Palestine, Texas, those areas right now as this line extending all the way down, but just about into College Station currently right now. So definitely a severe risk here, but moving into Thursday and Friday is where we're really going to start to see that the big picture start to happen here. So this is the little system that's out in front of what we're actually looking at for Thursday, or for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as far as the big storm goes. So once we get this little storm out of the way, that's really going to open up the potential for that big trough to move in and really wreak some havoc here, especially in these areas here on Saturday, and then eventually into our area on Sunday. So we got for tomorrow, we've got a marginal risk of severe weather here in portions of Alabama, a little bit of Mississippi, extending all the way up into Bowling Green, Kentucky. Those areas could see the potential for some severe weather tomorrow. And then the general thunderstorm up there in Nashville, Bowling Green, Jonesboro, Atlanta, Macon, Georgia, as this system kind of moves away. We are pretty much safe from this. High pressure's got us pretty much safe from this, but this is going to actually be able to rob a little bit of moisture off of the Gulf of Mexico here. So we're going to see some moisture get robbed with this system here as a whole as it moves across the southern portion of the United States, which is a good thing as we move forward towards the weekend and in through to Sunday. So any moisture that we can take away from this thing, as monstrous of a storm as this is going to be, is definitely beneficial here for the folks in these portions of the United States here, Alabama, Mississippi, and western Georgia as well, extending all the way up into portions of the Ohio Valley, Kentucky, those areas. So let's rob some moisture here while we can. Looking out to day 3, we start to get into that probabilistic area here, where we are looking at a 10% higher probability for significant severe weather. So this is your tornado outbreaks. This is your extreme wind damage and things like that. So as you can see, this extends all the way up into portions of Minneapolis, Rochester, down through Madison, Chicago, Illinois, Indianapolis, Louisville, Bowling Green, Nashville. The center here is that 10% probability. That's going to cover areas like Quincy, St. Louis, Nashville's just on the borderline of that as we move through Jonesboro, Arkansas, Huntsville, Alabama, Tupelo, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, all of those areas in that significant risk there for severe weather here. So this is the initial front portion of this system. Overnight, things kind of relax a little bit, and then eventually we see a lot more moisture start getting sucked in, and we're going to see that here on models here in a few minutes. But as we get out to day 4, that's where we start to get into what is looking to be the major outbreak of severe weather, especially if you live in these areas of the country. So Atlanta, Georgia, Tuscaloosa, Jackson, Montgomery. So these areas can go through 2 days of significant severe weather here, but I think that the most of it is going to be the large portion of the tornado threat is going to be on Saturday for these areas. And that extends all the way up into Cleveland, Ohio, Canton, Columbus, down to New Orleans, Panama City, Florida. Those areas are all in favorable for some severe weather as well. But the general concentration is going to be down here in this yellow highlighted area, this dark yellow area, where we're looking at the 30% chance of severe weather. As we move through into, let's pull this back up. Let's go to day 5. We are now here out on Sunday here along the Grand Strand. So we're looking at that 15% probability of severe weather, same as last night. So not a whole lot's changed as far as the outlooks go here, except for as we get a little bit closer, these outlooks have changed a little bit for the Nashville and Atlanta metro, those areas. As we start getting a little bit closer, confidence is building that we're going to see a significant severe weather in portions of the deep south and southeast. So definitely keeping an eye on that as we kind of move forward here over the next couple days. But we're going to continue our lives here as we go throughout the week and keep you updated on any changes here as far as this goes. Now we are out to day 5 here right now. If you're just learning to follow along here with me, day 5, we're really 4 days away from this, but today counts as day 1. So today, tomorrow is day 2, day 3, Friday, day 4, Saturday, day 5, Sunday. So that's how I go by what the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center highlights as the specific days. So Sunday's day 5 of this long system here, but we're going to have a 3-day stretch here of significant severe weather to be looking forward to here for the next couple days. Thankfully, we're not in that significant severe weather range here quite yet. But a lot can change here as we kind of move through. So what does this all look like as far as what does this storm look like, okay, as it starts to build across the country? So here we are out on Saturday at this point here. You can see this 974 center of low pressure. This is a very, very monstrous storm here, very powerful storm up over the Midwest. As we look out over Friday night into Saturday, you can see that band really start to form here, and this is where we're starting to see that severe weather. I think anything along this line here moving up into the Midwest for Friday night in the overnight hours, unfortunately this is going to be a nocturnal system. I think is going to be more in the form of straight line winds. I don't think we're going to have the moisture at this point right now to be really conducive of the tornado threat for this area, but damaging winds straight line winds can be the same damage as tornadoes. So we definitely not counting this out for sure at all. This is going to be a very dangerous situation here for the portions of the Midwest, Illinois, and those areas up in the Midwest. Definitely a very dangerous time for them Friday night. However, the big picture kind of shifts there on Saturday, when this second surface low kind of forms down here. This is a 989 low. This is what's going to bring our big giant threat to the portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, extending all the way up into the Ohio Valley at that point. So definitely watching those areas for a significant severe weather outbreak, and that includes, unfortunately, tornadoes. We could see some very long track tornadoes, especially down in portions of central to southern Mississippi and Alabama. We could see some long track tornadoes in those areas as we kind of move through. Moving in through to Sunday morning, looking out in the Columbia, Greenville area, we could see that potential for some severe weather. I think gusty winds, wind damage is going to be the biggest threat here so far as of now. And then eventually by 1 o'clock, we'll be starting to see impacts here along the coast. I think, if anything, the majority of our impacts are going to, again, just like last week, be up here eastern North Carolina and north. We're going to be seeing a good warm nose kind of dipping up into portions of central Pennsylvania all the way up to the Scranton area of Pennsylvania. So, and along with that, a lot of our lower level winds are going to be up in the northeast portions of the United States. And that's really what helps. When you got that storm fuel and those upper level and lower level winds really start to fuel that tornado threat. Can't rule out the possibility of a tornado here as of right now, according to models, but definitely going to see that threat kind of increase as you get into the North Carolina, Southern Virginia area, and even extending up into Washington, Baltimore area as well. So let's take a peek here real quick at the 500 millibar. So we'll take a look at what this storm actually looks like as we move through over the next, say, 72 hours here. So here is that little trough right here that's going to be working through tonight, and for the Texas area, bringing some of that severe weather threat overnight into tomorrow for portions of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana tonight, and eventually moves through, and that really sets us up for this deep trough to start working its way across California, New Mexico, Arizona, those areas over the next day or so. And as we get into Friday, we see that trough negatively tilted here. Negatively tilted trough is never a good thing for the Dixie Alley area. These portions of Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, those areas, never a good thing to see that negatively tilted trough this deep. As you can see, this trough, this center of low pressure really starts to kick up towards the northeast and eventually separates a little bit where that secondary low can form there on Saturday, and then eventually moving into Sunday, bringing with it some very heavy gusty winds aloft. This is 109, 110 knots aloft at 500 millibar. And how does that extend to the 850 millibar height here? These are the winds that we're watching for that tornado activity. Okay, so as we're in Friday, you can see those. We're looking at 64 knots up several thousand feet off the ground, mixing with those upper level winds. So we're gonna have plenty of wind shear to be able to be conducive of tornadoes. But as you can see, those winds overnight into Saturday kind of die down at the lower levels, and then again re-intensify here, and this is going to be where you're going to see that robust tornado activity, which could be this could lead to a tornado outbreak in these areas as well for Mississippi and Alabama, even into Georgia, Tennessee, up into the Ohio Valley. Could see that potential for tornadoes as we move into Sunday. Looking at these still 70 to 72 knot gusts coming in around 7 a.m. to the Greenville, Columbia area, and even extending into portions of the mid-morning here. 63 knot winds out near Florence, so can't rule out the possibility of those tornadoes. And just as we get to about 1 p.m., we're still looking at 64 knot, 850 millibar winds here, just off the surface, several thousand feet here, extending right up into portions of the border belt up into eastern North Carolina. So like I said, I think a lot of that severe threat, the tornado risk, if there will be some, will primarily be set up in these portions of eastern North Carolina, southern Virginia, and even stretching up into areas like Delaware and southern Maryland as well. Um, do see some pretty gusty winds up here in the central Pennsylvania area, Harrisburg, Lancaster County, Chester County, Pennsylvania, Bucks County. Those areas could definitely see some pretty gusty winds here. So wind is definitely going to be our primary severe threat at this point right now. Not seeing a whole lot of robust supercells on the supercell composite or even on the reflectivity along this area, but we're definitely going to have the moisture there to produce severe weather here. Now, what does moisture look like here for this system here? So let's pull up our dew points here. We will stretch them back out here to tonight. As you can see, we've got some pretty robust moisture here working its way up in for that system that is working its way across the portions of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana tonight. You can see this system really pulling a lot of that moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, which is extremely moist right now. We got dew points in the 70s in the Gulf, and definitely pulling that moisture in. As we move into Friday morning, we start looking here at dew points increasing. We got a very good, robust warm nose here, dipping all the way up into the Ohio Valley, up and through the Midwest. Dew points in the 50s, dew points in the 60s down here in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, even into portions like Dallas, Texas. Dew points in the 60s. And that's only going to continue to kind of rise as we go through into Saturday, and that's when we're going to start seeing that tornado threat really increase here in portions of Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, and up into the Ohio Valley at that point. And you can see as this starts working through into the overnight hours, our dew points are really increasing here right along the coast, stretching all the way up into almost northeastern North Carolina at that point, dew points in the 60s. So giving us a lot of fuel here for the potential for severe weather. Just not showing a ton of that, and I think that has a lot to do with those upper level winds and those 850 millibar winds really shifting off to our north at this point. So definitely could change. This has changed drastically since last night into today as far as the 850 millibar winds go. So we can see that change here. Like I said, we're still technically 4 days out, but still out at day 5 right now, according to the Storm Prediction Center. So we have a long way to go here before we actually move into this actual event. Now, when I say composite reflectivity, this is what the radar could look like as we move into Sunday. So here we are out on Saturday at 1 o'clock. You can see those storms really starting to fire up here over Mississippi and Tennessee, extending all the way up into portions of western Kentucky as well. And then eventually, by the early evening, late afternoon, early evening, we're all the way up into portions of Indiana and Ohio. So very, very powerful storm system extending all the way up in through the northeast here at this point. And as we work through to the early afternoon on Sunday, this is out at 1 o'clock. You can start seeing that line of storms start working through portions of Florence and into and along the Grand Strand as well. It does kind of pick up just a little bit here as it gets right on the coast. So we could see that significant weather here. The severe weather risk definitely increases a little bit, and this is all going to be based on timing. So if this really kind of moves through a little bit quicker, and we get through the warmest portions of the day when we're starting to see these storms, we could see that potential for severe some pretty crazy severe thunderstorms here along the Grand Strand. But we're going to keep an eye on that as far as when this exact timing is going to be. And we're still a little ways out for this, so I don't have any high-res images right now to be able to start compiling that exact timing and what the impacts are definitely going to look like. But I would say we definitely, if we live here along the Grand Strand, want to prepare for the gusty winds. If you have things outside, you definitely want to start moving those items inside and getting them secured, because we could see some very gusty winds throughout the day on Sunday, especially out ahead of this line of storms. We're going to have some wind gusts as well. So we'll start digging into wind gusts here as we move through the next day or so. But eventually, This system will move out of here just like last week, and we'll clear up pretty quick there. So overall, definitely want to prepare for the potential severe winds here along with this system as we move through the next couple days, and we'll keep you aware of any changes that happen and occur with this as we keep moving forward. So overall, not a whole lot's changed since last night. Models are kind of bounce back and forth here over the next couple days as they start to become in agreement and kind of align a little bit more. But we're going to keep an eye on that and bring this information to you live every night until Sunday. So definitely stay in touch with us here. Follow our social media if you have not yet done so. Please head over to our YouTube page and hit that subscribe button. Remember to hit the bell button so that way you get notifications when we do go live. We do go live during severe events and coverage up to those severe events as well on YouTube. And every Sunday we release our Coastal Cast episode early on YouTube, so you can be one of the first to see that before it goes live on Facebook several hours later. So some of the information may be a little outdated by the time you see it on Facebook. So definitely want to subscribe to that YouTube page and take advantage of the perks of getting information a little bit earlier. Tonight's storm coverage here is sponsored by Detailed Electrical. Please give them a call if you have any electrical needs before a storm, after a storm, or during a storm. Brad will take good care of you over there at Detailed Electrical. He's very good at what he does, and we're very proud to have them as a partner here, powering our entire live storm coverage as things go. I can tell you that Thursday we may go live tomorrow with radar feed. Definitely Friday, definitely Saturday we will be live with radar coverage. Tracking this system as it moves across, and then definitely on Sunday we will for sure be live as this system will be impacting our area as we go through the day on Sunday. So have a way to get your warnings. Make sure that if you have loved ones that are in any of these portions of the United States over the next 2 to 3 days, make sure you reach out to them. Ensure that they have a way to receive warnings. Send them our information here from Myrtle Beach Aware. I will gladly keep them in check here and let them know what is going on. If they have any questions, please have them reach out to me and let me know. I will gladly answer any questions for them, as well as anybody here along the Grand Strand. I'm always here to answer their questions and concerns that you may have. But until then, you stay